Welcome to Travel Secrets with me, Tanya Rose, the podcast sharing wisdom for fellow travellers. Each week, I ask my guests to reveal their 6 travel secrets and the trips and holidays that uncover them. My guest today is my wonderful friend, Rae Feather. Rae and I have known each other for many, many years. We even worked together in early 2000s on Sandy Lane, which was an adventure. You've worked in Formula One and travelled extensively, and then you set up your eponymous brand, Rae Feather, for travel clothes and fabulous personalised bags and accessories. And on every single trip I go on, half my suitcase is Rae Feather. I wouldn't be without it, and I gift it to everybody. Welcome, lovely Rae. It is so wonderful to see you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Before we get into your travel secrets, perhaps you can tell us a little bit about yourself and how travel has impacted your life.
I was born in Ireland. I moved from Ireland to the UK when I was 18, and even in my younger days, I knew that I really wanted to travel. I ended up living in London, then moving out to the countryside. In my early career, fate played a very generous hand, and I ended up working in Formula One. And that was kind of like a very lucky way, I guess, for me to be able to see the world. Someone else was paying my ticket, even though I was there for a short period of time. And actually, I really wish that I'd kept more notes of the places that I was in. But that's kind of where it started. And my appetite for travel and adventure still continues, really.
Did you actually travel around the circuit when you worked in Formula One?
No one actually believes this, but I did it. We did every race. And when I first interviewed for the job was advertised. I was working at Leith's School of Food and Wine as Prue's washer-upper.
Oh, wow.
I'd done the cookery course, and then I went back to work there. And then one of the teachers said, "Oh, there's a job that's come in." It was prior to recruitment agencies and so on. And this job came in for rally driving in someone to cook for rally drivers in South Wales. And I was like, I'm not
That's not for me.
interested, no. And the girl said, just call up about the job. Anyway, fortuitously, I was at the Mexican Grand Prix 2 weeks later. They'd basically camouflaged it so that they wouldn't get a huge amount of applicants for the job, and they wanted the right person. And
so it wasn't rally driving in Wales at all?
No, they
That's
camouflaged
hilarious.
that and then the next interview was, they told me it was for Formula One. And I got down to the final 2, and they picked the other girl. And the other girl called in the afternoon and said she'd just been offered a job on Peter de Savary's boat in the Caribbean. She said, "No, I don't think I'll do the Formula One thing."
And you were thinking,
so anyway, I got
yes!
the Formula One job.
How amazing.
Ayrton Senna, it was his first race with McLaren.
Oh, amazing.
And Prost and Senna were the drivers for those years. And what we did was we flew to the international events, but we had one of those American Chevrolet trucks, and we would drive the European circuit in that. No phones. I couldn't read a map to save my life today, even so. Goodness only knows how we got there. One of the things that I said to you before, I wish I'd kept a diary or notes on the places that we went to, the restaurants we went to, all the places, but of course I didn't.
I know, but some of it's still in your head,
Very
I'm
much
sure.
so,
So when
very
you go
much
to,
so.
I went there
Yeah.
with Ayrton Senna as well.
Yeah, exactly.
How wonderful. He's gorgeous. He was
He
gorgeous,
was
wasn't
gorgeous.
he?
I thought I was going to be the next Mrs. Senna.
Did you?
Yeah.
I think everyone that met him
Yeah,
probably
they
thought
did.
the same.
They did.
And he
They
was an
did.
amazing driver,
Yeah,
wasn't he?
incredible man.
And you're from Ireland. Where are you from in Ireland?
I'm from Tyrone, County Tyrone in Northern Ireland. My mother still lives there. My brother lives there. My sisters live in Dublin. So I spend my time between the north and the south.
So that probably takes us nicely into travel secret number 1, which is, what's one destination that you feel everybody should go to once in a lifetime?
I really thought long and hard about this. And I actually do think Ireland, my love of Ireland was never always as great as it is today. And as I got older, I couldn't wait to get out of Ireland, if I've been honest. I was brought up in the Troubles in Mid-Ulster, which was a really major sectarian part of Northern Ireland where the most trouble was. It was very well publicised that it was Mid-Ulster was not a great place. So it was kind of a subconscious thing. I wasn't, it was a way of life. However, we were checked everywhere. The army were everywhere. My parents had businesses blown up. We had many people who we knew we lost because it's such a small country. Inevitably, one would know
most
the
people.
families, exactly. So I guess without it being that conscious, I just knew that I didn't want to be in Ireland. So I left Ireland at 18. My mother, she was like, get out. She said, I remember the day you left. I said, yeah, you do. You could not wait to get rid
really?
of me.
She wanted you to
She wanted
travel.
me out. I went to Leeds and I basically did so poorly in my A-levels. That's why I ended up doing what I did. Thought about going to university and then, but you know what? It was the best thing I ever did in my life. And anyone that would, I think it's changed so much since then. I was at the little school in Notting Hill, which was this tiny little space. And now I understand they're in massive premises somewhere else. But anyway, that opened up so many doors for me.
It's not always the right path going to university, and you've had an amazing career.
Yeah,
and I'm sure you've never looked back on that, have you?
No, I think there are times whenever, when one has their own children, one's own children, you try your best to kind of guide them. And maybe, I think back then, no, it didn't bother me at all. But maybe today, I think maybe I'd see it differently.
So going back to Ireland, where do you suggest people go if they haven't been to Ireland before? What would be a place that you think people should go to first?
Well, from a very young age, my parents worked, and we had a caravan up on the northern coast, and I ended up actually going to school up there as well. But along that north coast, where the Giant's Causeway is and where Game of Thrones was filmed. We had a lady called Mrs. Sanford who was sent to look after us, and it was my brother, my sister, and myself. And she wasn't that keen on my brother and I, but loved my sister Helen. So she'd basically pack us off in the morning with a jam sandwich and a bucket and spade and our wellies and our little anoraks. And I'm not joking, from the age of maybe 6, 7, we would just roam around. We'd go down to the rock pools by ourselves. We'd have a towel and we'd swim. And I mean, it must have been freezing, but we didn't mind it. We had all our little friends.
Fantastic.
We'd play table tennis. Maybe.
Like the famous 5.
It really was a bit like, it was quite feral, I suppose. But at the same time, I was never happier. And then going back there, so I went to school there. And then subsequently, slowly going back, my parents bought a little cottage in Donegal about 40 years ago.
Beautiful.
And we would go back and forward from there a bit. And that, so there is a place called Ardra and Portneuf. It's almost the furthest point you can get to America on the coast. But on a good day, it's like the Caribbean. The beaches go on for miles.
Sandy.
Sand, white, pinky white sand.
Beautiful.
It's very, very rural. I'm not so sure that you'd want to spend that much time there outside, maybe summer months. Or maybe you would. It's windy, very windy. And there isn't a huge amount to do, but you feel so close to nature.
Yeah,
and I think going back to what I said before, I think all those things are actually contribute to where I am today, and just love it up there. The other place to go is go down the west coast, go to Cork, Skull, Kinsale, all around there. They get really busy in summer months, but the beauty of Ireland is you could actually go at any time. As long as you don't mind getting a bit weather beaten, there's always a pub somewhere.
I was going to say, a wonderful pub, singing,
that's always
fabulous
warm.
people.
And there really are, it really is like that. Of course, it's not like that everywhere.
No.
And up the wild Atlantic coast. So that drive all around Ireland is pretty special. And there's also a book called The Blue Book, which you can get, which has got some incredible B&Bs. And it's a very well-known publication.
So very affordable as well.
Oh, very, very affordable. I mean, Dublin is not so affordable anymore. But listen, where's affordable? You know what I mean? It's all relative. But you can find places to go.
In the Blue Book. That's
the Blue Book's a really good publication to kind of go.
And also your sister, this is another travel secret. She has the most amazing shop.
She has.
Where is her shop?
Her shop's in Dublin. She was in a little, she was in an area called Ranelagh. And she closed that shop, and she's now in a place called Sandyford. But she has a lifestyle store that is sits over 2 floors, and it's pretty special.
It's amazing. And on her Instagram, everything that she does, I want. Her tablescaping, or what she does for Easter or Christmas. She has the most amazing eye. Does she actually do interiors as well?
Well, she is more dyslexic than I can even say.
Well, she's very clever.
But she's just got the most incredible taste. My mother was an interior. My mother actually left us, didn't leave us. My mother left us when she was about 40 and went and did Inchball for a year.
Oh, did she? Interesting.
And my mother was one of 13 children. Started
Good
business
Irish
with my
family.
family at 20. And basically they built up this kind of, they had it started off with a paint shop. And then they went on, and she too has a store in Ireland, and still works every day. She's 82.
How fantastic.
Yeah, she's incredible.
And I see your mother on your Instagram. She's a wonderful model for a lot of your things. She's fantastic.
She loves a bit of modelling.
So let's go into travel secret number 2. What's the most unexpected trip that you've ever taken or place you've been to?
Well, I think that probably is, we did a charity bike ride with Click. I don't know, do you remember Click?
Yes, Click
you would have
Sergeant.
definitely
Yes,
been involved
yeah,
with that a bit,
absolutely.
Tanya. And I was invited to go on this bike ride from Vietnam to Cambodia.
How amazing.
It sounds like it was being brutal, but actually it was quite flat. And we were with the most wonderful group of people. It was very strict. You know, you were there in the morning, you did I think we were probably doing 40 miles a day, but it was very flat. The trip itself was like, I think it was not perhaps it was a time in my life whenever I was going through a really major transition, and I hadn't really given it a huge amount of thought as to what I was doing. And when I got there, what it did for my soul was something that I can't explain. Like the Vietnamese, we were cycling through very rural places.
Paddy fields.
Yeah. It was honestly almost all pretty rural. As you can imagine, there was 40 of us on bikes. We're not going to start, going through really busy places. And then we crossed over into Cambodia and getting to Angkor Wat, which I had done absolutely zero research on.
So that must have been breathtaking.
So the last point, we finished at Angkor Wat. And I was like, what's this all about? Having done no research. This place built in the 12th century, 12th, 13th century, and rediscovered in 1840. That was like, I was really cross at myself for not having done a little bit of research, and blown away by this incredible city that had disappeared.
And did you have a guide when you got there telling you about it?
Yes, absolutely.
So
yeah.
then you learnt what it was all about.
Yeah, we learned, but I definitely want to go back there. That was kind of probably the biggest
Did you
surprise.
do that trip with Eddie Jordan? Because I know he did.
That's right.
And he must have been such fun.
Oh, we've had a lot of fun with Eddie Jordan.
And his band.
We still continue to have good fun with Eddie Jordan.
Sing songs, etc.
Yeah,
he's
exactly.
great fun.
He's just his zest for life is incredible.
Yeah, and you probably met him doing Formula One, did you?
Yeah, I was told, I was in the motorhome this day, and someone said, and Eddie had just started his Formula One team, and he said, Eddie Jordan's asked you to come down and see him. He hears there's an Irish girl working in the paddock. And I went down, and he was so off. He's you know what Eddie's like, he's so outrageous. And I thought, I cannot be friends with this man. He has since become, he's godfather to one of my kids. His wife has become probably one of my best friends. His kids and I are very close. And he's one of the most generous. Eddie's done so much for me through my career as well. He's been a great, great ally, great friend, very, very generous, loving man. Also mad as a box of frogs.
Mad but fun.
Yeah.
And I've had many a fun sing-song evening with him. So I'm sure Cambodia and Vietnam on bikes must have been a hoot.
Yeah.
On travel secret number 3, what is your most overrated travel experience?
Oh, probably Dubai. I wasn't a fan of Dubai at all. Weirdly, I went to Dubai before Chaumière was even built, because within the Formula One program there was a desert rally. It was called the Dubai Desert Challenge.
Is that like the Paris-Dakar?
It was like the Paris-Dakar, and we were based in Dubai, but there was 2 hotels. There was the Intercontinental and another one I can't remember.
Not the Burj Al Arab. Had that not been built?
Oh, absolutely not. We were talking, I hate to say this, I was thinking about this driving up today. When was that time? It was about 35 years ago. But how Dubai...
It's unbelievable,
So back
isn't
in
it?
those days, you're thinking, gosh, there's definitely something going on here. And then going back again, it's very personal. I was not a fan.
Yeah.
But
I went to Dubai many, many years ago when the Burj Al Arab was first built. And then when I went back again, it was just a traffic jam.
yeah,
There was so much traffic.
there's a lot of beauty there as well. Don't get me wrong. I'm not, and I've full respect to anyone. I'm not saying this disrespectfully. It's just not my
Not your
bag
place.
anymore.
I tell you which is a lovely country in the Middle East, I think, is Oman. Have you been to Oman?
I've heard amazing things.
Yeah,
about
there are
it.
some
It's probably far
amazing
more my vibe.
resorts. Yeah, like Zighy Bay and
I've
the
heard it's
Chedi.
incredible. Yeah.
So if you want that sort of winter sun, 4 hours, 5 hours flight, it's got much more to it.
I'd
I
love
think,
to try that.
than Oman.
By the way, horses for courses as well. I don't mean to be mean to Dubai either.
Let's go on to food and drink. Food and drink is what we all live for. Wherever we travel, it's such an important part of our lives. Where's the best restaurant you've been, or the best meal, or the best cocktail when you've been traveling?
My favorite restaurant of all time, and you will know this restaurant, and we've never talked about it, is Le Chaumière.
Oh, I love that restaurant.
Yeah, I knew you'd probably love this restaurant. And in Formula One days, Monaco was easily the hardest race we all did. It was really difficult because it was a lot of huge amount of walking. There's a lot of barriers put up at different times, obviously, for the cars and so on. So we didn't have access to get to places very easily. And we knew that it was always going to be a really difficult race. So on that night, whichever night it was, Thursday night, I think, we would go religiously to Le Chaumière. And I remember the first time I walked in, it also coincides with Cannes Film Festival.
Yes, it does. Absolutely.
So you weren't quite sure who you were going to see in there. It would just every so often hear little whispers, and you'd turn around and you wouldn't know.
Robert De Niro would walk in.
Could be there. Anyone. Which actually, another funny story about Monaco, I'll just tell you very quickly, was I was waiting for guests one day at the Beach Plaza Hotel by myself, completely by myself, just kind of sitting there waiting for guests to come down. And I looked up, and 4 men walked past me, and it was George Clooney, Brad Pitt, Andy Garcia, and Matt Damon. And they were obviously all at the Cannes Film Festival, and were doing a promotion during the time.
Was that Ocean's 11 they were doing?
Ocean's 11, exactly.
Yeah. And you didn't speak to them?
I didn't speak to them. But they did actually look down at me, and at the way that I looked at them, they all kind of smiled and walked on. It was actually a very special moment.
Very handsome, gorgeous cast. Amazing. Do you go
special
to
moment.
the south of France still?
We actually, for a little while, spent a lot of time in Minerve and around that area of Provence. In fact, bought an old farmhouse, but the quotes that we got to do it up were way less than the quotes to actually do it up. And then whatever happened in life, it didn't actually work out that we developed it. But again, it was a very, very, very special time of my life, and I absolutely loved that. But
area.
back to the Chaumière, the one thing that you will remember about it is the rawness of that as well. It's basically the meat on the fire, the beautiful bread, the crudité.
It's very simple,
Yeah.
but so chic.
It's
and
so chic.
very cozy. It's not even a
Yeah.
big restaurant, is it?
No, not at all.
No, it's
And it's
absolutely
not. I
charming.
actually went on last night to look at the menu to remind myself, and actually, not a lot has changed.
No. When you've got it right, why change it?
Absolutely.
And actually, pricing-wise, it's fine as well
Yeah,
compared to
you're
some
right.
of the other
No,
restaurants
it was
down
really.
there, which are
I
really
don't remember it
extraordinary.
being that much different in price then than it is today.
And I know you said you bought a farmhouse in the south of France, but didn't you then go to Portugal and buy something? Because you go to Portugal quite a lot, don't you?
My parents bought in Portugal probably, again, nearly 30 years ago. We have an old farmhouse there that has recently just had some work done in it, but at any given time, there could be 14 of us staying there.
And that's in the Algarve, is it?
That's in the Algarve. It's in this space between Quinta del Lago and Val de Lobo.
Yeah, lovely.
And it sits way off the road, so it's very, very private. But it is not one bit swanky, because all around there now has become so beautiful. It's so manicured. It's a very, very, very special place to me as well. There's many things about it that I've changed over the years, but the beach has never changed.
No, they're amazing. We look after the Villa Vita Park, which is an amazing hotel.
Absolutely
Really, really
gorgeous.
beautiful, fantastic beach. It's got a farm outside where you can go for the day and you see where all the produce comes from.
Yeah.
It's really fabulous. And don't you do a pop-up every summer there?
I did for a while, but I haven't done one for a while. I had a great little shop there.
Yeah, you did. I remember.
It was so
really
much fun.
wonderful.
It was like being on holiday but working at the same time.
Yeah,
I'd come home at
perfect.
lunchtime and have a glass of rosé.
Absolutely perfect. So, travel secret number 5. What is your best insider travel secret or tip?
In the early days when we started doing the baskets, I'd have to go to Marrakesh quite a lot. And even Marrakesh, since visiting first time to how it is today, is, oh my
Night and
goodness,
day.
it's crazy. But don't ever be afraid to go outside the city a little bit. And there are some amazing properties outside Marrakesh that you could visit. And the other thing that I've done there is I've taken a train from Marrakesh up to Casablanca.
Have you? How interesting.
And that was really fun. The trains are so ancient, but absolutely charming. You've got your own little, it's like having
A compartment.
a little compartment, and some ancient conductor comes along and sits and has a chat with you. And in my worst French, I communicate.
Bonjour.
Bonjour, that's about it. And yeah, that's a good one. And then India, which is so dear to my heart and somewhere that I absolutely love going to. When I started Rae Feather, we worked in Portugal, and I found it all just so soulless. I love the Portuguese, but it was that kind of working in Guimarães, which a lot of the fact up in Porto and so on, which are very beautiful places, but going in winter and walking into factories, and I just never felt like, I didn't look forward to trips, put it that way. I always felt they were quite flat, and it was really
Hard
laborious.
to do business.
And even though everyone was so welcoming, and it was quite wonderful up there as well. But when I first went to India, it was like, okay, I found my people. And whilst it throws so many curveballs, it still is somewhere that's really, really dear to me. And in Delhi, do all the things they tell you to do, but also go off the beaten track there as well a little bit. There's so many really interesting little markets you can visit and so on. So many restaurants and enclaves of restaurants that are absolutely wonderful. Also looking for fabrics, visit Nehru Place. Go just to have a look around. It's quite daunting because it's where all the locals are also, and it can be a little bit scary to start with, but India is actually incredibly safe. So therefore, don't let that stop you from having a look around.
Is Nehru Place a sort of area where they do fabrics?
That's Nehru Place.
So it's not a shop. It's literally
Nehru Place. There's probably about 40 fabric places, more maybe, but it's all sorts of fabric. But the thing is, you don't go and buy. You go along and you think, okay, go for inspiration more than actually buying the fabrics. You can't buy them on the spot, so to speak. And it's often a risk. You go to explore, you go for inspiration, as opposed to actually purchasing bulk fabrics at that time.
And when you set up Rae Feather, I remember you telling me it was because you couldn't find the sort of holiday wear that you wanted.
We are in a very, very, very crowded arena right now in almost every aspect of retail. It's beauty, food, clothing, all of those things. I believe that quality and affordability have got to go hand in hand today. And I struggled to do that. Yes, I could buy that caftan at £500, which, by the way, I'm sure if you buy a caftan at £500, you will love that caftan and wear it forever. But I felt that just with good quality cottons and good shapes that could be accessorized, and just add a scarf or a nice pair of sandals or a bit of jewelry, could become something that was actually quite a special look. And that really was the ethos behind me wanting to create good quality, affordable pieces that people didn't feel like that they knew that they could buy and put away and know they were going to take them out for the next 3 years.
Yeah. And actually, when I go on holiday, I have my towel. It's not called a towel, that I put on the bed with my initials on it. Then I have my Rae Feather basket with my initials and the pink stripe.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have my Le Hat, which you created, and probably a few caftans and the scarves and the necklaces. And you just feel slightly different from everybody else. Not everyone else is wearing the same thing. It's great.
Well, I also think that there is something very special about, not so much special, I think if you were going somewhere for a nice dinner in London, for example, you want to look you want to feel good. And I think it's about feeling good and feeling comfortable. And if you feel good and feel comfortable, the chances are you're probably feeling good about yourself, and therefore you have a better time. And I think if you're on holiday, majority of the time you're going to try something special and something a bit different, maybe try new restaurants. And it's that thing of walking in and thinking, you know what, I feel great. And I've got my lippy on, I've got my nice caftan on, I've got my bag.
And you
And
look
therefore it's
great.
kind of, yeah, you can, it's a level of sophistication maybe, or I don't know. It's just about that confidence that maybe something like that gives
Are you
you.
a good packer?
Absolutely dreadful, horrendous.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear you
Yeah.
say that, because I am really the
Yeah.
worst packer. And I
Yeah.
spoke about this when Trini was on the
Yeah.
podcast. She's the most amazing packer.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And I said to her, please come and give me a lesson, because I am
Yeah.
so appalling. I
Yeah.
travel all the time and I have
Yeah.
bags and bags.
Yeah.
I throw it in and it's just not good.
Yeah, I get to the scales and I'm like, I'm definitely going to get done today. And I just accept it almost. If I don't, I was flying back. We were at a family wedding in Portugal this weekend, and I went up and I almost had my card out. And she said, "Oh, you've booked 3 bags in."
Oh.
And I said, "Happy days.
Hooray.
Don't have to pay anything today."
Hooray. Let's go on to the next travel secret. What is a memory of a holiday or trip that you have taken that is still poignant to you today?
You know, again, Tanya, there's been so many. I think probably early days in Portugal with my children were the most special days, wherein, you know, they'd get up in the morning, their hair would be all over their little brown bodies, and sleepy faces, coming in for a hug, and you knew that you just were going to have the most special day. And as much as it was basically breakfast, playtime, and then beach all day, fish restaurant, wherein everyone would just muck in, and we'd stay on the beach until way past sunset sometimes, and then go home. And we've got a massive, great table that sits in the terrace, and everyone would sit around and chat and play games. And those days were really, really special. Today, perhaps, I think probably the Taj Mahal. I had this really funny conversation, again, quite ignorantly, well, very ignorantly. I was in Delhi, and I get along really well with my factory owners. He's very, very funny. And the relationship is built up over the years. It wasn't kind of automatic. But we have got, I really enjoy his company. He's very funny. And I said to him this day, really want to go to the Taj Mahal. And he said, I'll pick you up in the morning. And I said, don't be ridiculous. He said, I'll pick you up in the morning. And I said, it must be so far. He said, 3 hours. Picked me up in the morning, and we had the day at the Taj Mahal. It was such a special day. It was just, we went to the Mandarin. I think there's a Mandarin next door. We had lunch there, and we spent the afternoon having not even considered that I was going to be able to do this, or that even the proximity was close enough. And the funny thing is, we're driving down the motorway. His son, Kartik's driving. And I said, Kartik, there's a camel racing towards you. He said, I know. And I said, no, there's a camel racing towards you. And there was a camel racing up the motorway, which for them was, you see cows everywhere. But
Actually, it is very scary driving in India. I think I've never been so scared. They do that chicken, and I just closed my eyes, and
I do the Jaipur, Delhi to Jaipur quite a lot. And that is, it's brutal. And every time you think, yeah, but the airport's going to be busy. You know what? It's brutal.
It is brutal.
Yeah.
That takes us very nicely on to the last question, which is, I asked you to bring a photograph and talk about the photograph and how that sums up travel for you.
It has to be India, I think. I'm actually traveling to India today for work. And, you know, it's that thing of, I find when I come back from India, my soul is fuller. I don't say bad words for a couple of days. I basically I seem to speak quieter. There's something about it that's just very, very soulful. And I know it's a crazy country, and it's growing rapidly, and it's just so, it's evolving in a way that we just can't even believe. I'll go back this time to where I stay, and I'll see a change. It's really cleaned up as well. It's much, much more. I mean, they're miles. They're, even though it doesn't seem it, they're miles ahead of us in many things. But I think it's that thing of every time I leave India, I'm sad to leave. Mainly because I think it does my soul good.
And the photograph is you at the Taj Mahal on that day.
The picture is, it's a random photograph that they took of me that day at the Taj Mahal, I look happy. And it reminds me of a really, probably a real turning point in my life as well. You know, you get to that age, Tanya, whenever you just kind of things seem to smooth out and the things that bothered you before don't seem to bother you so much anymore. That kind of, the
Happened to
photograph
you.
brings me back to that time.
Very Princess Diana.
That's actually what someone commented on. And if I posted it, someone said, very Princess Diana, whatever I'd written on it.
Rae, it's been a joy and delight to go around the world with you. Thank you so much for sharing your travel secrets with me.
Thank you,
And
gorgeous.
have a wonderful, wonderful trip to India.
Thanks a million, Tanya. Thank you so much for having me.